Alright, ladies, gentlemen, and whoever you choose to be, my name is Ron, and in keeping with the spirit of solving mysteries, we play a little game known as the Darkside Detective. So essentially, it's a point-and-click style game where you solve mysteries concerning the paranormal. You'll be solving puzzles and collecting items that will help you make your way through figuring out 9 cases, all with an assortment of unique characters and even some unsettling teddy bears. So ano pa hinihintay natin? Get that brown trench coat and black tie and let's solve the mysteries of Twin Lakes in the Darkside Detective. So ganito kasi yung nangyari. So before I begin, I just want to say na I screwed up. The entire first and second episode have no audio because I didn't set up OBS properly. Sinasabi ko to as an apology both to the viewer and to Editor Ron, who will no doubt suffer for these mishaps in the future. Sorry me. But anyway, ang unang kaso na kailangan natin isolve is called MALICE in Wonderland. Dito makikilala natin si Officer Dooley, the world's greatest sidekick. So he tells us kung ano yung situation. Alice, a 7-year-old kid, went missing. No traces of leaving the house. Of course, being the Paranormal division, trabaho natin tukuyin kung ano nga ba ang naging cause ng pagkawala. After clicking Detective McQueen several hundred times, we head inside the house, and here we meet Roy Jones, Alice's father. Pero being the ever-curious person that we are, hindi na muna natin kausapin. Instead, we head to this hallway to look for potential evidence. We go into the family's closet to find our first item, the blacklight bulb. So we finally talk to this Roy Jones only to find out na wala siyang kwentang tatay and would rather be getting booty. He tells us to talk to the nanny and gives us the second item for our case, the matches. We head upstairs to find Alice's mother and she's inconsolable. So we move on to the next room where we meet the nanny named McFiend, a reference to Nanny McPhee, kung sino man nakapanood nun. We talk to her and she is a little sus. We look under the bed to find a strange page, which the nanny suspiciously denies. We then ask her for the key to the study, which she more than happily gives, and we head off. We then go to the attic where I accidentally put the black light bulb into the light, which reveals a mysterious door. Yep, pinakamagaling na detective sa buong mundo mga manonood, finding things by complete accident. But continuing on, we find the paint thinner and, well, we head to the study. Pero anyways, we ask the people in the house about it and lo and behold, wala silang pakialam. Suspiciously enough. So, pumunta naman tayo sa study where we get the next item, the lantern. We head back to the attic where we solve the puzzle by putting the missing symbols on the wall, easy enough. By doing that, we open a portal and with the lantern lit using the matches, we head inside. So, sa loob ng portal, mahanap natin sa wakas si Alice who was trapped in there. Pero all of a sudden, biglang lumabas yung yaya na may hawak na kalibre 45. She knocked out our sidekick and threatened to unalive us if we didn't do her bidding. Pero for some reason, nilabas niya tayo sa portal. Well, okay, sabi ni detective. And in taking advantage of this lapse in common sense, we used the paint thinner to erase the markings, closing the door and trapping Nanny in there for all of eternity. And with that, the rain stops and the case is closed. So the next case is called TOME Alone, where we go to a library that has a strange storm gathering over it. Initially, we thought that Dooley actually noticed the storm, pero in reality, may mga overdue lang pala siya na library books. Pero nevertheless, we investigate anyway. So we meet the librarian named Doris who tells us all about the weird happenings in the library. Flickering lights, floating books, strange noises, typical haunted location things. She tells us that there is one other person here, a kid somewhere in the library. She then tells us to solve it or she'll call a rather questionable ghost-busting startup to fix it. First things first, we go into her office to investigate. We pick up a button and a pair of scissors. Next, we go inside the elevator only to realize na nawawala yung button for the 4th floor. I try to use the button but alas, we need something more to fix this. So instead, we go to the sci-fi section and are greeted with an old friend of mine. I'll let the gameplay me explain it to you. So in Doctor Who, there are these things called weeping angels. They're these weird statue-looking things that can only move when you're not looking at them. If you blink or turn around or do anything that involves not looking at them, they'll essentially move and try to kill you. The way they kill you is by teleporting you to a point in time before you were born, and they feed off your life energy. Essentially, you'll die before you're born, kind of thing. Fascinating trivia from Ron. So before I get too far, I just need to say that this game is actually full of references and Easter eggs, and this particular case alone does have quite a lot of them. So I'll try my best to mention them as I go along. But anyway, after entering full fanboy mode, we then enter the children's section where makikita natin na okay naman lahat, except yung lumulutang na libro and that teddy bear. Pero kinausap ng ating team yung bata. Pero he's too preoccupied to talk, so we grab the next item on our list, the Viewmaster. We move on to the third floor where in the children's workshop, we get the fourth item, yung glue. Going to the left side of the third floor, we meet Raxa, the first of quite a few recurring characters in this story. She's also here to investigate the happenings around the library, particularly the storm. We head inside the microfilm room because we need some to make the Viewmaster work. And this marks the first instance of many na hindi ko mahulaan kung ano yung dapat gawin ko. Honestly, medyo nakakahiya nga kasi paikot-ikot ako for 15 minutes, pero eventually I do figure it out. But before that, I go back to the second floor and pick up a metal strip and a library card. I also figure out that the metal strip is added to the button to make a conductive button. Okay, so now na nagawa ko lahat yon, bumalik tayo sa room ng mga film. Cut it using the scissors and use the Viewmaster. And by doing that, we finally get to see a ghost. Now allow me to introduce you to Aleister Crowley, a historical occultist that founded the religion of Thelema. We ask him about what's happening pero wala rin siyang alam. But he does point us in the direction of a guy named Yeats. We go outside and conveniently, we meet this Yeats person. So this is William Butler Yeats, an Irish poet and writer. He agrees to help us but only if we deal with Crowley first. Of course, we agree and move forward. Ngayon napansin nyo yung team nitong case na to. These ghosts are named after historical authors of literature. Well, all except one, you'll see what I mean. And there are quite a bit of them as we go forward. So moving on, we go to the children's workshop and meet Gail Plinkman, who writes DIY books. Conveniently, now that we can see her, she helps us fix the elevator using the button we made, giving us access to the fourth floor. We head back to the chessboard area out of curiosity and find another set of authors. Douglas Adams, writer of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Terry Pratchett, author of Discworld, which contains one of my favorite depictions of death. Heading to the fourth floor's room to the right, we find two very familiar horror novelists bickering, H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe. I don't think I need to explain who these are anymore. Of course, they are bickering about each other's work, but also learning that one of Lovecraft's books was stolen from the room. We also combine the glue with the library card to give us a sticky library card. That'll be useful later. So we now go back to the children's section and find Enid Blyton, a children's book writer known for characters such as Noddy, kung naaalala nyo pa yan nung bata kayo. She tells us that she did in fact steal the book, the reason being she'd hoped that it would stop the two fighting. Evidently, it did not. We figured that the best way to stop the two from fighting is to introduce a work far scarier than either of what they've written. Now, I remember there being a photocopy machine downstairs and we just so happened to have a library card waiting to be picturized. And so, we do just that, and for our reward, we get a fake library card and use it to borrow Guy Light, a novel about a vampire that falls in love with a teenage girl in a high school that totally does not have a real-world equivalent whatsoever. We bring this over to Gloom and Doom over there and they deem it as the scariest work they've ever witnessed. Now that that's done, we tie up some loose ends with the other ghost. First, now that Lovecraft and Poe are done fighting, we take the book from Blyton. Second, we head back to Raxa, who helps us get the admin password, which we then give to Crowley so he can now access his but this means he won't be bothering Yeats anymore, so he gives us the info about where to go next. Apparently, one of the books in the 4th floor L section is a lever, so we need to pull it. It's probably the book we have now, so we go there to see if it works. Then we take the book to the 4th floor where it is used as a lever to open a secret passage. We find out that the cause of all the happenings around here was a faulty wire powering up a strange book. Here we meet Mary Shelley, who of course wrote Frankenstein, which I also learned its full name is actually Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. So that's new information for me. We pick up the skull and drop it in the vent, which leads us back to the children's section. Now Doris wants us to arrest the kid for breaking and entering. We talk her out of it in the condition that we get rid of the ghost and get Devon to go somewhere else. Dooley then offers for Devon to join the scouts. Well, not those scouts, maybe the Boy Scouts type, or in this world, Blood Wolves. We are then given the roof key, which gives us access to the roof. So we get to the roof where merong puzzle na kailangan isolve, which easily takes me about 15 minutes to figure out. Expect nyo na may mga parts talaga dito na may stuck ako for a good bit, and believe it or not, this is only the beginning. But anyway, we disable the machine, which in turn stops powering the book, and we get a kind of sad scene of all the ghosts disappearing. I don't know, none of them were hostile and a lot of them were influential in literature. Like, imagine all the questions you'd want to ask. But unfortunately, it is our duty as the Darkside Detective to stop the paranormal from causing trouble. But in doing that, of course, we solve the storm and the sun finally shines on us once again, and this case is closed. Okay, so ito naman tayo sa third case, which is Disorient Express. Dooley calls us because meron daw emergency about the subway. It is important to note na at this point in the game, hindi ko na alam what happens next. I actually played the game right when it came out, but I only got so far as the library case. So anything past that is completely new to me. Pero anyways, something is wrong with the subway, pero in reality, kaya lang tayo tinawagan ni Dooley is because kailangan niya ng sundo. Pero since we are the Darkside Division and this is a Darkside case, we solve it. We make our way down to the subway to find a ghost train with a ghost conductor. We learn that the train is stuck there for some reason, but the Brightside Division is on the case. More on that later. He won't let us in the train without the ticket, so we have to go somewhere else. We move forward and inspect a very suspicious looking trash bin. Inside is, well, a receipt. And we also look into the janitor thing to get a plunger handle. We then go to the restroom, which is about as accurate as any train station restroom there could ever be. And here we have 3 stalls. Stall number 1 contains a ghost taking a ghostly dump. He asked us to help him get some toilet paper. How that works, hindi ko alam, pero being isang mabuting Samaritano, we agree. Stall number 2 contains a tentacle. That'll be important later. Stall number 3 doesn't have anything weird, but it does have the toilet paper we need. So we grab that and bring it to the ghost, and in turn, he gives us a coin. Now, hindi ko alam kung paano ko ito nahulaan, pero ang logic ng utak ko at that time is coin plus ticket machine equals ticket for train. So, tinry ko, and apparently pares kami na iniisip ni McQueen because we share the same reaction on the fact that it actually worked. So, we get the ticket and give it to the conductor, and he lets us in the train. We meet some other ghosts, and even one that Dooley kind of likes. Ghost and a human falling in love. Someone should write a book about that. Pero anyways, we find a portal to the other side. And being the responsible adults that we are, we go in without any warning. Inside, we find the Brightside, equivalent of the train, and the Brightside Division. So this is Agent McScream, and he is this world's equivalent of us. Although he's more like Dooley than McQueen if you actually talk to him. So, pagpasok dun sa tren on the other side, well, look who it is. It's Raxa again. And several missing passengers na napadpad sa Darkside. We go outside and talk to Lightside Detective Dooley, who is basically more competent Dooley. Pero we like Dooley more here, Dooley supremacy. But because Ghoulie is more competent, he of course does not grant us access because technically it is out of our jurisdiction. So we have to find a way to get past him. Going outside, we see exactly what the other side of the world looks like. It's destroyed, burning, chaotic, dark. Perfect. Pero suddenly in the distance, may dragon na lumilipad. So, best not to stay here for any longer than we have to. So we go inside the costume shop, the only thing we can interact with. And apparently, dito pala yung ticket na nakuha natin kanina. We give the shopkeeper the ticket and he gives us a swimming cap. Okay. Ngayon dito ako na-stuck. And I do mean actually stuck. Kasi di ko maulaan kung ano yung hindi ko na-click. It goes on for like a solid 10 minutes until I eventually realize it was the mold next to the ticket machine on the other side. This is a game that rewards the curious and outright punishes the impatient because you really have to check every nook and cranny. The game is not that difficult per se, but future cases do become more obscure as to how you need to do things. And you kinda have to think outside the box for some of them. But anyways, we get the mold and combine it with the swim cap we got earlier to make a bad disguise. So we go back to Ghoulie and put on the disguise, which doesn't actually work on him. Pero he praises our effort and we gain his trust. More importantly, he allows us access to the rest of the Darkside subway. So we continue on past them to the control room where we get a key. We then go to the bathroom where we pick up the plunger head and meet John, the toilet that talks. Honestly, not the strangest thing we've seen so far or will see in the future. So we talk to him and hear a few of his jokes and be on our merry way. Now on the way back, we combine the plunger head with the plunger handle to get, well, a complete plunger. Now here is where we encounter a problem. Detective McScream won't allow us to take the key back with us to the other side. Pero kailangan natin yung susi para sa control room. So need maghanap ng paraan para mailusot sa kabila yung contraband. Well, if you can remember a certain tentacle in a toilet, well apparently you need to use the plunger on him, which then sends him to the other side. Grab the key and give it to the tentacle, plunge him back to the light side, and grab the key from the tentacle and name him Dave. Honestly, the strangest string of sentences I've ever said so far on this channel. But with the key in hand, we unlock the control room on the light side to find Engineer Tam. He places a virus on the computer which promptly caused this whole conundrum. We eject the floppy virus and proceed to the only tech-savvy person on this subway, Raxa. She tells us that this is an occult virus, but good news is she can help us make an antivirus for it. So now we're introduced to the final puzzle of this particular case. Basically, we need to clean the disk infection. To do that, we need to click on the correct icon that removes the virus without it infecting the ones next to it. I think I explained that right, pero here's gameplay footage to better see what I'm actually doing. Now, I don't rightfully get it the first several times either, pero eventually I find the correct combination which leaves the virus cornered. With that, we eliminate the virus from the floppy disk and get the antivirus disk. And of course, with that in hand, we go back to the control room, upload the antivirus, and fix the subway once and for all. We arrest the occult engineer, and we get our third case closed. And that ends the first part of our dabbling in the dark side. Nag-decide ako na this will be a 3-part series kasi ayoko naman din na i-skim ko lang yung mga susunod na cases. I really want to do this game justice by explaining it thoroughly because a lot of it will be lost kung skip-skip lang ako for the sake of making it shorter. So next time on the Darkside Detective, we will continue tackling the many mysteries of Twin Lakes. Salamat sa panonood and I will see you when I see you.